This episode of Underground Reggie is brought to you by the IamMen.com. Music, sports, and entertainment news from IamMen Media. Follow the IamMen on Instagram at IamMen.media.
Robin Hood is a story of triumph, a riches to rags, back to riches tale for the wise. Robin stole from the rich and gave to the poor. Alongside his band of merry men, Robin was a crusader who sought justice. He was a man of the people. But what business lessons can be learned from Robin stealing from the rich? Was it actually a wise financial decision? On today's episode of Underground Reggie, we'll discuss that question plus more. I'm your host, Rico Banks. Today is Wednesday, October 30th, and this is Underground Reggie. The mission of Robin Hood and the merry men was to steal from the rich and give to the poor, a task only the bravest of men would attempt because of the risk. However, Robin and his men did so without fear. This was an attempt to help his fellow people who were unfairly being taxed. By stealing from the rich, Robin and his men created a revenue stream for themselves, a factor that I don't think they expected or realized. Robin Hood and the merry men's revenue stream was being influenced by a few factors. One factor was the number of merry men in the organization. That affected the revenue stream in a bad way. Why, you ask? Because as the membership numbers grew, they would also have to share their revenue with more individuals. The revenue stream will also be affected by the cost of feeding each of the merry men and the price of compensation each of the merry men would expect to receive outside of giving their money back to the poor. The cost of financing the poor can become expensive. Another factor that affected the revenue stream of the organization was the number of rich people that the merry men could actually steal from. There were only a certain amount of rich people that they could steal from, but as they stole from more rich, the amount of wealth is now being transferred to the merry men themselves, which also poses another interesting question. If the mission of Robin Hood and the merry men was to steal from the rich and give to the poor, would they now begin to steal from their own members? We'll ask that question and others next on Underground Reggie.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you, so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Earlier in the episode, it was stated that funding the poor could become expensive for Robin. These expenses would find Robin Hood having to now deal with an unplanned cost structure. The unplanned cost structure of the merry men was being influenced by the payment for the merry men's participation, their cost of food, clothing, travel, and weaponry. Each member of the merry men has to be compensated fairly for their participation in the heist. As they travel with the organization, their expenses for living quarters must be paid for by someone. The merry men also needed uniforms, and these uniforms must be paid for by someone as well. They also would have to eat, and if they are robbing the rich, they would each need weapons for their criminal activity. To cover these finances, Robin Hood should consider a 50-50 financial strategy if he wishes prosperity for himself and his men. This strategy could be used after determining how much money the merry men would give the poor after stealing from the rich. A 50-50 strategy would allow the merry men to keep 50% of anything they would take. It would also require that the merry men give 50-50 to the merry men organization to cover their organizational costs. These costs would include costs affecting the cost structure. These costs will also include their cost of food, their cost of clothing, travel, and weaponry, but will not include the payment for the merry men's participation. The merry men's participation costs will be covered completely in the 50% that the merry men get to keep to themselves. As learned from the tale of Robin Hood, finances weren't a factor, as the fearless leader gave graciously to his people, a task his people would go on to love him for. This feat allowed Robin to escape his own financial pitfalls, especially the ones he could have possibly faced if his chivalry was attached to a payroll. It's a fun thought. I thought that will stay that way as we continue to enjoy the tale of Robin Hood.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Underground Reggie. I'm your host, Rico Banks. Make sure you follow the I Am Men on Instagram at IamMen.media. We'll be back for another episode soon. Stay tuned.